JB here. Hope I was doing outstanding on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, 8:58 on T-Day. I guess if you want to call it Tariff Day, Liberation Day, or maybe we just call it Wednesday. But talk really quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there. S&P futures were chopping around overnight and then took a leg to the downside about 5 or 6 a.m. And now S&P futures are down nearly 9 tenths of a percent. NASDAQ futures down over 1%. I don't know if some of it's the headline uh, that China is going to restrict companies from investing in U.S. as tensions arise. it's I'll talk about that more in a second. I mean, there were headlines back in 2024 that U.S. investment ban on China, right? We were banning investment in China. So anyway, well, pick your poison, pick your catalyst, pick the rationale behind the move. But either way, I'm not saying today after the close when POTUS speaks at 4 o'clock is going to dictate where the market goes for the next couple of weeks, but it certainly can. So you hope that there's a little restraint in the scope of the tariffs, right? So the question remained against whom, how much, how long, and then a lot of other unknowns. Are they negotiable? When do they take place? So there's so many unknowns, and hopefully there's enough clarity that at least it can ease concerns on the market. It looks like Tesla's delivery numbers just came out because it's dipping here. So well, yeah, at 56. Well, I'm sure Tesla's numbers have to be horrible. It's just a matter of how bad they are. Uh, so that's kind of like where the what to look at today with what he's going to announce. So up into to the afternoon, I mean, it's going to be another choppy session. The the blueprint the last 2 days has been the market has opened lower, hit lows in the early morning. Yesterday, Monday was 9:45. Yesterday was like 10:15. Then we bounced into the noon hour, chopped around. Uh, Yesterday, we were actually able to hit highs into the end of the day. So we'll see how today plays out. I mean, if we don't find support, so 247 or so, I think it was 246.89 on the SPY is what we hit on Monday. So that'd be a key spot to watch here today on weakness if sellers come in. On the flip side, I keep saying that 563. Did I say 263? 563 on the SPY. That's a key spot. Would love to see that close above. But I think nothing's going to matter today if the announcement after the close is shocking surprise, right? If it's broad based and a high number, 25, 30% on just a just an assortment of everything, then I mean, there's going to be the market's going to be more there's going to be a heck of a lot of turmoil on going into Thursday, and you have to think that would probably start the course for a quick move to possibly a bear market. So not getting my I'm not trying to fear or any of that stuff. I think there's a possibility there. But to me, I think if there was that was the possible that was one of the outcomes. I mean, I would think the VIX would be a heck of a lot higher than it is right now. And take a look back in September it was over 23, back in October it was over 23, back in November it was over 23, and the SPY was hitting highs. So to sit there and think that we don't have a you know peak fear yet, I mean, I guess you could look both ways, but so anyway, time will tell here, but I've been saying it for the last week or so, keeping things small, open to both sides, puts and calls, um, and go from there. I'm in hindsight, well, not in hindsight, but I may, depending what the market looks like into the end of the day, maybe I'll get a lotto put hedge just in case there is some kind of shit hit the fan kind of moment. Part of my language. Also, this bear flag is still playing out, so thankfully closed right above that trend line, but need to get above the upper trend line to negate it. I mean, it might take some time if it does, but still watching that. And then the VIX, which the VIX was down 2% yesterday. So again, in context of all the other highs on the VIX over the last couple months, we're right kind of at the levels where we were when the markets were hitting highs. You would think we'd be into the high, into the 30s. I don't know. So that's kind of overall market. Also, yesterday we had the GDP now number revision down to negative 3.7%. I mean, that's a horrible number. And if the GDP does come in negative for Q1, you would hope it's like a band-aid, like one bad number, and then it can reverse. Because if it starts to be a trend, obviously back-to-back quarters typically would be considered recession. So not a good read there. I wish I had historicals. I tried to find on the Wayback Machine to see if I can get the previous data. I'm going to try that maybe later today to see if I can find what some of the estimates were over the years and quarters and how accurate those were when the actual reading came out. All right, so that's overall market. So then individual name, Shopify. I mean, it was 89.28 or so on Monday morning after I hit lows. I got the calls, and then it reversed 12%. It was up, almost looked like it was going to hit $100 by the noon hour yesterday. Hit 99.47. What did it hit? 99.54. Locked more of my calls in for nearly 400%. Held the rest, and now that's kind of my lotto trade into tomorrow. So I'll just hold those, even if there's weakness down to 92, because if we do get a rally, it's probably gonna be one of those face rippers, and I could see shop trading over $100, if not higher. So uh, I'll continue to hold those calls. BIDU is kind of flat here today. Again, announcement or reports out. I think it was Bloomberg that had the report, or Reuters. Who was it that China's going to restrict? It was Bloomberg that they're going to restrict companies from investing in the U.S. as tensions rise. I mean, to me, that would be construed positive for BIDU, but who am I? Of course, I have calls, so that's my skew on it. But continue to hold the strikes, and I might look for some more strikes into next week. If let's say it finds a bid here and starts to rally into the noon hour, maybe 94, 95. I still think that's headed back over $100 in short order. Added, trying to keep things small, but I did add some Caterpillar calls only because number one, I think if there's any rally tomorrow, you look at a name like Caterpillar and it's hit multi-month lows a couple times. That 320 handle hit it early in March, hit in April, hit in the summer, and then it's bounced. And then it's only going to take a 3, 4, 5% rally for the calls to go nuts. So that was kind of the thought process there. And I didn't want to be chasing on Thursday morning. So added those strikes there. Was looking strong yesterday, at least holding up. We'll see how it is here today with the futures lower. Obviously, it's going to open lower, but if it starts to reverse, I think it bodes well. Close over 330 would be nice into tomorrow. And then GameStop. So green back-to-back sessions to the green side despite the market volatility. Still like this one too, but I'll be patient. Maybe I'll wait till 23 breaks and holds. It's again, I was making that rationale with the Wedbush analyst yesterday, saying that the company should be valued like strategy 2.5 times its Bitcoin holdings. So if they do a $1.3 billion raise and buy Bitcoin and the stock kind of stays the same price, then just as a function of that, that the way that the valuation, the 2.5 times Bitcoin holding valuation that the Wedbush analyst came up with, then it should trade 1.5 times more than that, right? That it should be so. It should have an added market cap of 2 billion, whatever the math works out to be. So it's kind of comical. As long as the stock holds here, you would think if they're smart, what GameStop should do is just hold that $4.7 billion cash hoard and just keep doing raises and then do interest income. All right. So that's GameStop. And then other names I'm watching, just if things do find footing. Wayfair, I'm still watching this one. I mean, it's down 5 straight sessions to the downside. Huge call volume yesterday on I think it was the April 35 strike, 5,000 contracts, but the open interest was 5,100. And I looked, I think it was a selling position. So that's gone. So nothing to see there. Sometimes those big block that hit the tape, it's not, doesn't warrant any kind of action, right? So then there's Wayfair, still watching Roku here. Another positive analyst yesterday, Wells Fargo tactical list for Q2. Stock did nothing. It actually gapped at the open and ran. It was only up at 73 right after the open. I'm like, it almost looked like news was hitting. I almost scrambled to get some calls and pass. And then sure enough, it did what Roku does, got back to where it was, closed flat. And then ETFs, right? So I was talking about yesterday, if things really hit the fan, some of these ETFs might go parabolic. SQQQQ looks interesting. I sound like I'm either putting an extra Q on or not enough Qs. Also looking for, maybe TZA. I might, in lieu of doing FAS, because FAS is inexpensive right now because it probably needs another reverse split. But FAS puts might be better than trying to get the FAS calls, TZA calls, things like that. And what was Tesla's deliveries? 336,000 versus 390,000 estimates. Oh, yeah, big miss. I mean, you had to think it was going to be a big miss. It's probably, it's probably going to continue to be a big miss until something changes. Anyway, so have a great day, folks. I'll be back on the audio later. Rockin'.